Hi everyone, I hope you're doing really well today, and today we're here to discuss a book that I really did enjoy, which is different to the last book review that I posted where I talked about a book I absolutely despised. This one has been one that I've very much enjoyed. We're talking about So Thrilled for You by Holly Bourne, and I have the signed edition that I picked up from Waterstones. So I often do that. I pick up the signed version of a book that I'm going to want to read, and then sometimes it's a complete letdown. So I'm glad that I enjoyed this one and I don't have to rehome it when I paid for a signed one. Now this book is a complete different genre to the last book that I read. So Thrilled for You is definitely more of a female fiction book. It focuses heavily on women in their 30s. We have a friendship group who met all at university and became fast friends and sort of lived out their young lives together, their trials, their tribulations, and were with each other at poignant moments in their lives. One of the things that I particularly like about this friendship group is that they are all very different, and it makes it very sort of true to real life friendships, especially ones that have gone on that long. Some members of the group get on better than others. There is sort of underlying currents of unresolved issues between a couple of the members, and the way that they all sort of interact with one another is very interesting. The main event of the book follows the baby shower of one of the women called Nikki, and her baby shower has been thrown by another member of the group called Charlotte. Now Charlotte is almost manic in the way that she has planned and timed every single event of this baby shower, and the reason that she's done that, we find out pretty quickly on, is because she's really suffering from her own infertility battles whilst watching her friends become pregnant, and she has a lot going on behind the scenes while she's trying to graciously throw the perfect baby shower for her friend Nikki. Now Nikki is the member of the friendship group that I found that I liked the least. I really didn't get on with her very well at all. In the book, I found her irksome, and some of the reasons that people have unresolved issues with her, I'm not sure I could even be friends with her after it. But that's another story. So the women are all gathered at Nikki's parents' massive sort of show house to celebrate Nikki's upcoming birth. And at some point during the festivities, a fire breaks out and engulfs Nikki's parents' entire house and burns it all to the ground. And so the book follows the sort of investigation, if you will. Now when I say investigation, this isn't a crime fiction novel at all. We just have occasionally at the beginning of some chapters we have a short transcript of the detectives asking each individual woman where they were at the time of the fire, and pulling up sort of questionable bits about their character, or things that might make them a suspect in the reason that Nikki's whole house burnt to the ground. But then each chapter follows a different woman in the friendship group, and she puts forward her perspective of what happened that day, and we get a slow burning tale of the four women, where they met, how they became best friends for life and begin to refer to themselves as the Little Women. We start to find out little secrets as to why some of them have issues with one another, and we start to find out little things that are bothering each one of them. Now, one of the reasons that I really enjoyed this book is that Holly Bourne had herself just had a baby when she wrote the book, and I feel like that really helped translate into the pages as to the feelings around childbirth and having your first baby, and just how overwhelming it can be. And it led for some really horrible choices that were made by one of the mothers, and they were quite upsetting to read and imagine. It led to that where you could sort of understand what was going on, drawn on your own perspective should you have had children, and going with what eventually did happen, that I found pretty difficult to read, and it made me feel quite uncomfortable. But I like that Holly Bourne tackled that element of new motherhood and just how overwhelming it can be. We also have Charlotte, who is struggling, as I said, with infertility, and with her journey through fertility treatment and all that entails, and I found that to be extremely interesting too. It's not very often that you have sort of an accurate tale of what that journey is like, and I really enjoyed reading Charlotte's perspective and seeing how she felt alongside her friends who were easily falling pregnant, and in one case with the mum who's already had a baby and seems to be overwhelmed by the situation, for Charlotte to witness that and almost feel envy and anger at her friend who is very clearly struggling mentally and emotionally, yet we have the battle inside of Charlotte where she is hurting watching that, and I thought it was brilliantly done. And then we have Steffi, who is the child free by choice of the group, and she explains her choices and how badly people take them. And as I've never been child free by choice, I am a mother and I always wanted to have children. It was something I always knew I wanted to do, and none of my friends have chosen to remain child free, and so I had never really discussed that and those choices with anyone before, and I always just assumed that it would be just something that was just accepted and not really questioned. I'm very much of the mindset of a woman's choice to choose whether she wants to have children or whether she doesn't. I think it's an important life choice and nobody should make that choice for you. So I just assumed that everyone else would feel the same way. But when we journey into Steffi's past and things that have been said to her and the way she's been made to feel for her life choices, I found that eye-opening myself because I didn't know that women were going through that, which is definitely very naive on my part. It's something that I just hadn't considered because I was so busy with my own life choices, and I just assumed that everybody would just be accepting and normal about it. If someone decides they don't want to have children, they shouldn't have to have children. And I found the way that Steffi was treated and made to feel, I found it eye-opening, and it was something new that I learned but whilst reading this book. All these little tidbits lead up to the final event. Each chapter sort of leads us closer and closer and closer to the day of the fire. And with each chapter we have periods in history where we go back to the women's young university days up to present day. And it's very much sets the scene for the fire that takes place. And it's very much a case that it could really be any of the women there. It really could. And it doesn't even have to be any of the four. There are other people that are in there that could easily have been the person to cause the fire. And obviously, I won't spoil it for you. We do find out who causes the fire. And all the way through the book, it wasn't quite what I was expecting to happen. It really wasn't. And I was surprised by what happened, but I thought it was plausible. And I thought that realistically, because of the way that the book had opened up and the way things were going, it was very plausible what happened. And I really enjoyed the ride of this one. It was one that I found very hard to put down, and I ploughed through it, which is always a good sign if you just can't put a book down. I very, very much enjoyed it. And I don't think it's been out for too long. I know Holly Bourne's more known for her young adult fiction. I haven't read anything else by Holly Bourne yet, but I will be going to after this one because, as I say, I very much enjoyed it. And the way that Holly was able to write all of these different women characters and get right into their headspace, and each character had sort of a very different outlook on life and a very different journey and path in life, and yet Holly was able to make them all feel extremely real. I thought it was very well done. So overall, I would definitely recommend that book to you if it's the type of thing that you would enjoy reading. And if you've already read it, let me know because I'm really interested to hear what you thought of it. And if you haven't, well then I suggest that you do if you think that it sounds like something you might enjoy reading. And that's all I have to say. So I'm going to go now, and bye for now.